Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Ballabha Grivanadari Gopi Jana Ballabha Grivanadari Yasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamunatīr Vanacharya Yamunatīr Vanacharya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramhans Subrahvidakacharya Asadhara Sadushi Shiman His Divine Grace Shalasi Bhaktivedanta Swami Raj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Haribol Glorious to the Son devotees All glorious to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutaya Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Vicharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskatyade Siddhara Om Agana Divanandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chaksuru Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamhayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shiva Sakans Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karna Sindho Dinabando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishubhanu Siddha Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tribhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patiranam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranityananda Shadvaiti Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 3, Chapter 27, Understanding Material Nature, text number 17. Devahūtir uvāca puruṣaṁ prakṛtir brahman na vimuñcati karhicit anyonyāpāśrayatvāc nityatvād anyonya prabho. Devahūtir uvāca. Puruṣaṁ prakṛtir brahman. Vimuñcati karhicit. Anyonyāpāśrayatvāc. Nityatvād anayoḥ prabho. Devahūtir uvāca. Prakṛtir brahman. Brahman. Vimuñcati karhicit. Nityatvād anayoḥ prabho. Devahūtir uvāca. Prakṛtir brahman. Vimuñcati karhicit. anyonyāpāśrayatvāc. Nityatvād anayoḥ prabho. Devahūti uvāca. Prakṛtir brahman. Vimuñcati karhicit. anyonyāpāśrayatvāt. Nityatvād anayoḥ prabho. Ladies. Devahūtir uvāca. puruṣaṁ prakṛtir brahman. Vimuñcati karhicit. anyonyāpāśrayatvāc. Nityatvād anayoḥ prabho. Devahūti uvāca. Prakṛtir brahman. Vimuñcati karhicit. anyonyāpāśrayatvāt. Nityatvād anayoḥ prabho. Devahūti uvāca. Devahūti said, puruṣaṁ, the spirit soul, prakṛtir, material nature, brahman, O brahmana, not, vimuñcati, does release, karhicit, at any time, anyonya, to one another, apāśrayatvāt, from attraction, cha, and nityatvād, from eternity, anyonya, of them both, prabho, O my Lord. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupada. Śrī Devahūti inquired, my dear brahmana, Does material nature ever give release to the spirit soul? Since one is attracted to the other eternally, how is there a separation possible? Purport. Devahūti, the mother of Kapiladeva, here makes her first inquiry. Although one may understand that spirit, soul, and matter are different, their actual separation is not possible, either by philosophical speculation or by proper understanding. The spirit soul is the marginal potency of the Supreme Lord, and matter is the external potency of the Lord. The two eternal potencies have somehow or another been combined, and since it is so difficult to separate one from the other, how is it possible for the individual soul to become liberated? So that can either be a question or it can be a statement. We take it as a question. Could be, how is it possible? As if it's impossible. And the other one is, how is it possible? By practical experience, one can see that when the soul is separated from the body has no real existence. And when the body is separated from the soul, one cannot perceive the existence of the soul. As long as the soul and the body combine, we can understand that there is life. But when they are separated, there is no manifested existence of the body or the soul. The question asked by Devahūti of Kapiladeva is more or less impelled by the philosophy of voidism. Nice to know that Devahūti is asking a question coming out of voidism. The voidists say that the consciousness is a product of a combination of matter, and that as soon as the consciousness is gone, the material combination dissolves, and therefore there's ultimately nothing but voidism. This absence of consciousness is called nirvana in Mayavada philosophy. We should not take Devahūti as being a Mayavadi. In other words, sometimes if you ask a question which is socially unacceptable or politically incorrect, then you might get a reaction for it. People may label you as something because of your inquisitiveness. So therefore, in modern society especially, or even in any society, the socially acceptable questions are limited and the politically correct decisions are limited, and it's expected that every normal human being, if they want to be considered a normal human being, should stay within the limits of what's socially acceptable and politically correct. If you step out of that, then they give you a label. And then they, as Prabho said, give the dog a bad name, and then you hang it. So all they do is have to give you a bad name, and then they have a legitimate reason to hang you. Even if you didn't do anything wrong, but because they gave you the name, therefore you're open field for whatever they do. Open season for hunting you. So the verse again. Śrī Devahūti inquired, my dear brahmana, does material nature ever give release to the spirit soul? Since one is attracted to the other eternally, how is there a separation possible? Namo Vishnu Vidaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswatam Deve Gauravani Bacharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskadyade Siddharne. Arjuna also asked politically incorrect questions to Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. Matter of fact, it appeared that Arjuna was a symbol of being in Maya. But that's all right, because all of us are in Maya. Unless we're a Mahabhagavat, personally meeting Krishna and speaking to him face and face, then to one degree or another, we're under the illusory energy. Therefore, these questions are important to ask. If we think that we're dealing with a society of paramahamsas, and therefore we should only talk about rasa tattva in order to relish our devotional rasa with Krishna, then we're in the wrong place. We'll have to wait till we get to Goloka Vrindavan to find such an audience. Although such discussions are sometimes applicable under certain circumstances, but as Srila Prabhupada points out in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and Srimad Bhagavatam is supposed to be assimilated from one canto to the next. Not that, oh, we don't, second canto, that's for the neophytes. We already surpassed the neophyte stage, and we're on the 10th canto, or whatever we're on the 3rd canto, so forget about the second canto. Forget about the first canto. We're making progress. Anyone who forgets about the first canto and second canto, even when they get to the 3rd canto, should go back and read the first and second canto again to find out what the 3rd canto is about. If we jump over to some other topic other than what's real to us, and what's real to us is that if we're not Mahabhagavats, then we are in Maya. And therefore, the amount of actual Krishna consciousness and even the faith we have has to be judged accordingly. At the beginning of the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita is our fundamental book, and there Prabhupada defines what the problem is and what the solution is. There he says he was approached by one lady who asked him, could he recommend an edition of the Bhagavad Gita in English? And Prabhupada said, although there is 600 or 700 translations, I don't know exactly, in English, he couldn't recommend any of them because none of them touched the spirit of the Bhagavad Gita. And then Prabhupada goes on to explain what the spirit of the Bhagavad Gita is. The spirit of the Bhagavad Gita is we have to accept what Krishna says. That he says he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, as Prabhupada will explain later on in the introduction, it's not that we blindly accept or blindly reject. If we want to take advantage of Krishna's instructions, then at least theoretically we should accept. That's called faith, submission. And we don't want to take advantage of Krishna's instructions. We don't believe he's God. And therefore, the Bhagavad Gita is just another speculation. Then why claim that we're reading the Bhagavad Gita as it is? That's not why Krishna spoke to the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. It was not the conclusion of Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. It was not the conclusion of the sages that Krishna mentions as authorities. It's not the conclusion of other Vedic literature, such as Srimad Bhagavatam and the Brahma Samhita. So if we reject all these personalities, we may not be familiar with them, we reject Madhvacharya, we reject Ramanujacharya, their conclusion, Sankaracharya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, Saraswati Thakur. We reject all of them, we reject Srimad Bhagavatam, we reject Brahma Samhita, then go somewhere else. There's plenty of literature. Just go on Amazon and do a search for, you'll find plenty of books to read. You want to be an armchair philosopher? Well, fine. You can read Bhagavad Gita, but don't claim that you're actually understanding what Bhagavad Gita is. If you're not Krishna's devotee or his friend, then don't claim that you're making any progress. There are many unfaithful people who read the Bhagavad Gita. There are many unfaithful people who have no idea what the Bhagavad Gita or any Vedic literature is about. They're in the lowest class. But certainly there are many people who read the Bhagavad Gita who take it as a philosophical discourse. Even Prabhupada said between a physician and his patient. That Krishna was an expert Ayurvedic doctor and Arjuna had some problem, maybe he had some mental problem, and Krishna came and cured it. Or what to speak of other things. So they're the second class. They read the Vedic literature, but they don't understand anything about it. They don't accept it. In other words, they don't accept the Vedic literature. It's just something that they can memorize or something they can show off. Others, they've accepted the Vedic literature, Bhagavad Gita for instance, but they don't believe Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So they're all considered to be faithless, And there's another faceless kind of personality who reads Bhagavad Gita and theoretically accepts Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but doesn't render any service to him. Maybe he has a little altar in his house and once a day offers a little water and prays the Lord, please turn the water into a fountain of gold. So they're all considered faithless by Krishna. That ignorant and faithless person who doubts the revealed scriptures go to ruin. For the doubting soul, there is happiness neither in this world nor in the next. So we're already doubting. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in these material bodies. But doubts should lead to questions how to get free from doubt. So Krishna in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita explains that we're not this body. Now, if that doesn't capture our intelligence, then we're, according to Bhagavad Gita, we're on the level of the animals. If we can't discriminate between the body and the soul, then we're simply engaged in eating, sleeping, mating, defending, which is the same thing the animals do. No disrespect to the animals, but that's all they're doing. And a human being has no idea that he's a spiritual personality, a spiritual being, a conscious person who has an opportunity for liberation from his misconceptions. Then more or less her activities are on the level of the animals, or according to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, less than the animals. He said that by birth, kalo sudra sambhava, by birth we're all born as Shudras, and by modern education we become less than animals. After all, the animals don't go hunting on the weekend. They hunt for food. It's not a sport for them. They generally don't kill their children, although there may be cases like that, but it's not a general thing amongst the animal kingdom. So, Prabhupada goes on to say that the scriptures, the sages, they accept Krishna as God, and there's a whole disciple succession, evam parampara praptam. People have taken the time to repeat Krishna's message because at least someone found it valuable. Now, we may think this is ridiculous. Why are they wasting their time? Just like those who are against deity worship. They say, why are these people wasting their time worshiping a deity? You know, maybe they had some problem in their childhood, their mother wouldn't give them a doll, and now they're trying to make it up now for some reason or another. You know, billions of people in India, because, you know, not only they worship the deities, but they even worship a cow. Could you imagine that a cow, they don't even, some people in India, could you imagine, they don't even eat the cow. They're so backwards. And even we heard rumors, although it may not be true anymore, that some of them even drink milk. Could you imagine how far behind they are? And any kind of logic and reasoning just bounces off them. Why? Because they're so far away from reality, they can't even see what's going on right before their eyes. Just like the criticism that the Indians worship the cow. They don't exactly worship the cow. They know its value. They know that the whole society is going to hell because people don't know the value of the cow. The cow was there, the bull was there. They used to, as Prabhupada said in one lecture, which I've heard many times now, that the most important activity in human society is eating. Now, if someone doesn't believe that, then good, just fast for the rest of your life, rest of your short life. If you don't believe that eating is the most important thing, we can take away your iPhone, you won't die in a month. We can even take away your computer, take away your degree. But if you don't eat food, you don't breathe air, you don't drink water, then you're going to die very shortly. So to sustain this body requires food. Now everything has been contaminated nowadays. The air, the water, the food, people's minds have been contaminated. Why? Because they don't know the importance of the cow and bull. And why is that? Because the cow and bull, the bull would plow the land, the cow would provide dung along with the bull, would fertilize the land. And as a result, just by sowing some grains, everyone had the amount of food that they needed to survive. Healthy food, organic food, without pesticides, insecticides, herbicides, and nowadays, peoplecides. There was no need for artificial fertilizers or anything because it was all naturally provided. But because they decided to get rid of the cow and the bull and even the horses, then the result is they had to build tractors and machinery to harvest the land, to plant the seeds, and that required factories. And the factories required material elements to put the factories together, which required transportation for other factories, for the trucks. And then it required stores to sell the food, and then armies and to get the petroleum and everything else as donations, of course, from other countries. Unwilling donations, but they don't realize they should give to the supreme country. Everything should be offered to the supreme country. So, as a result of that, this very complicated industrial, technological society has been formed, and people, as a result of all these factories, all the different types of wars that are going on to get the resources to run these factories, the result is the air has been polluted, the water has been polluted, the food has been polluted, people's minds are polluted, and they're calling that progress. Everyone's in anxiety. They don't even know if they're going to get a chapati tomorrow. And that's progress. But never mind, we don't need people. What do we need people for? Just get rid of them. Replace them with a robot. And we'll take care of the robots as best we can. They don't need so much food. So it's all illusion. They can't understand we're not this body. They can't understand the value of simple living, how they've complicated everything and destroyed the planet because of that. They don't even understand the value of milk given out of love. They want to eat some TV dinner given out of greed to supply money to people who made it. With only Krishna knows the ingredients because even the chemists can't figure out what's in it. So with a little intelligence, one can understand the value of culture, Vedic culture, the value of becoming liberated from this material concept of life. After all, Prakriti Maharaj, when he asked Śrī Goswami, what's the duty of a person who's about to die, a very politically incorrect question, socially unacceptable. If you go to the biggest university in the world and ask the learned professor, my dear professor, what is one's duty when one is about to die? What will the professor do? He'll immediately get on the phone and call the police to come and arrest you as a potential terrorist, threatening the professor. He has no answer. And therefore, to cover his ignorance, he calls the police and has you arrested to ask such a politically incorrect question, socially unacceptable, in a university class, where there are three-letter words. Four-letter words are not forbidden, but three-letter words beginning with a G are all forbidden, unless it's dog. But if you spell it backwards, then it becomes forbidden terminology at a respectable university. And therefore, Arjuna asks socially unacceptable questions. But they're in parampara. They're there for us because that's where we're at. That's where 99% of the population is at. They should ask these questions. What is the duty of a person who's about to die? How you're telling me I should practice this yoga system, but I can't even control my mind. But the whole yoga system is all about mental control. So how can I do that? So Devahūti, for instance, She was a Mahayogini. She got tutored by Kardama Muni, the great yogi who meditated for 10,000 years before he saw the Supersoul. And his wife served him faithfully. So now she's asking these questions. I did this yoga system for thousands of years, possibly, and I can't control my mind. So what's the process? So luckily she got Kapiladeva as her son, who's who's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, could actually answer this question. Kardama Muni, he was so powerful, he was able to come to some perfection of realizing the Supersoul, but his wife, being weaker in spiritual life, was not able to, and therefore Kardama Muni gave his mother, or his wife, over to his son, Kapiladeva, to finish the process of self-realization. So therefore, Prabhupada said it comes in parampara. And what is the parampara going to teach us? That everyone has a relation with Krishna. It's not that a few yogis have a relation with Krishna and that a few living entities have a relation with... No, every living entity has a relation with Krishna, and the best process is the process by which everyone can take advantage of just being alive in some body or another and learn the process of reviving their relation with Krishna. Prabhupada said in his Beginning Happening album that by this chanting, for instance, even a dog can take part. And even in our literature, Chaitanya Charitamrita, a dog went back to Godhead by the mercy of a devotee and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But we're not teaching or preaching to the dogs, but we're trying to get people to understand the most basic principles of reality. We're not asking them to understand Krishna's rasas with the gopis in Vrindavan. We're trying to get them to understand the value of the cow, the value of the fact that we're not this body, the value of washing your hands once in a while, taking a shower. So then Prabhupada goes on that everyone has a rasa and everyone has an opportunity, but still one may not understand this Bhagavad Gita. One may not have faith in the Bhagavad Gita entirely. And that's true for practically everyone who picks up the Bhagavad Gita. But at least in the beginning we should understand that theoretically we should accept Bhagavad Gita. Theoretically accept that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that with that submissive spirit, then we might be able to get some value out of reading the Bhagavad Gita. As Prabhupada writes in the Bhagavad Gita in the 4th chapter, verse 34, submission and service constitutes the proper understanding, proper combination for spiritual understanding. Unless there is submission and service, inquiries from the learned spiritual master will not be effective. So there's a combination. Inquisitive. What's in the Bhagavad Gita? All right, so you've gotten the Bhagavad Gita, you've come to that stage. Now become a little submissive. That's the next message. You have the book, now be a little submissive. Don't blindly accept what Krishna says. Don't blindly reject it. He says he's God. He says you're not this body. He says this world is going under some intelligence. Don't just blindly reject everything. Find something in it you can understand and appreciate and utilize in your life. Find something that's of value. Not just the 64th verse of the Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, 66th verse of the Bhagavad Gita. Sarvadharam prajaja mamekam sharanam vraja. Just don't accept that half of it. Give up all varieties of religion. That everyone practically has done in Kali Yuga. You've already accepted half of it. Now see if you can accept the other half too. These verses are a whole. and surrender to me. And I'll protect you from all sinful reactions. And if you only want to accept the first part of it, then why waste your time reading Bhagavad Gita? Why waste our time? We have to deal with your money and utilizing Krishna service. Let someone else give their money and we utilize it in Krishna service. Why waste our time? Of course, we're very merciful. So we accept all kinds of contributions and hope that people might wake up to realizing that Krishna might reciprocate with them and give them some special mercy for that. But the point is, theoretically accept it, and then at least one should be friendly to Krishna. Not, Krishna means God. Someone was telling me the other day they were giving a lecture at a university. No, they weren't giving a lecture. There was a meeting of all these big professors at a university. And one devotee, and they were all astronomers and whatever else, cosmologists. And so one devotee stood up and asked the learned professor who was giving the talk, he said, "Sir, I have one question. Do you accept that there's a God?" And the man went crazy. He went to the desk and started pounding, "There is no God, there is no God, there is no God." And the other professors came to him, "Calm down, please calm down. There might be a force in the world, in the universe, thinks, there is no God, there is no God." Someone has to become a little friendly to the Supreme Person. At least not envious. How can there be a God? There's no God, there's no... Sir, become a little reasonable. At least listen a little bit. The planets are moving their orbits exactly in time. How did that happen? There is no God. Don't talk to me about intelligent things that are going on in the universe. I don't want to hear it. Trying to prove there's a God. There is no God. Sir, you're insane. It's all right, I'm a professor, listen to me. I got my title. You don't graduate bringing up intelligence and logic and reasoning to this class. You got to accept the philosophy, our religion of atheism, or else you're disqualified for any higher degree. Get real. Get real. Get real as we think it should be. No, one should be Krishna's friend as well. Eventually, devotee means, all right, I'm a little I'm not anusuyave, I'm not envious. Now I'm willing to put it into practice to some degree. Devote some of my energy to it. Not just dismiss it as some armchair speculation and come up with my own ideas. It's a conversation between a doctor and his patient, or it's the Pandavas of the five senses. You want that? Don't read Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita. You just waste your time. Try to understand from the very beginning what you have, what's being offered, and if you can take advantage of it, then you'll get some value from it. And if you don't, then you can read it. Sure, we're happy, we're appreciative. You purchased it, whatever. You can't understand it, you won't accept it, because you're already convinced that there's no God. But for those who are a little innocent and sincere, this Bhagavad Gita will help one from the very beginning to understand what the proper mood is. What the proper, as Prabhupada said, that one should understand the intention of the author and be agreeable to it. What was that word I used at the beginning about the attitude that one should have? What's that? Do you have a Bhagavad Gita here? Is there a Bhagavad Gita? I'll buy one if you have one. Quick. I don't want to go too overdone. Oh, now I got it. Just by touching the Bhagavad Gita, the memory. One should understand the spirit of the Bhagavad Gita. It's the spirit of the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is God, that's the spirit. You may not blindly accept it, one may not blindly reject it, but at least theoretically accept it if you want to take advantage of it, and try to apply something that it says within your life to see if you can experience it. It's a science. And if you don't accept science, you want to accept some other kind of science, that everything came out of nothing, and there can't be any God, then you're not going to get anywhere by reading this Bhagavad Gita. I mean, sometimes you will. I know one sannyasi, whenever he was going by the devotees, he'd make it a habit to go and take one of their books, and as soon as he got to the book, he ripped it up. So that went on for some time, and one day he got the book out of the devotee's hands and ran away, took it home, decided, well, let's see what's in this book anyhow. So he read the book and he became a devotee. So some people may be immersed in this atheistic philosophy or whatever, but they get a chance to read the book, they get some prasadam or something, their hearts may become a little softened, and they think, yeah, what's this crazy book? You know, hey, this makes some sense. I never read a book that made any sense. So there is hope. This book distribution, this Harinam, this prasadam distribution, it will have effect. Not everyone may accept it, even because not everyone is on that platform right now. But Prabhupada said if a good percentage of the people accept it and start inquiring, then there's something there for them. Not everyone is a blind follower. Here we have Devahūti asking very intelligent questions. And Kapiladeva is going to spend chapters, first of all, explaining what devotional service is for the yogi that she missed out. And then finally, what the chanting Hare Krishna, chanting the names of God, deity worship, he'll go over the whole thing. And Devahūti will get enlightened. She asks very good questions. Although the anartha is there of voidism and personalism is there, otherwise she would have become a perfect yogi under the guidance of her husband, Kardama Muni, because he was a perfect yogi. But something was left, and therefore she asked this question, and she'll get a very good answer. And if anyone studies it, then the voidism tendency, impersonalist tendency will also be removed from their hearts. If they hear it submissively with the right spirit, right attitude, and they apply it within their lives, especially the later chapters when Kardama Muni will explain about pure devotional service, their lives will become perfect gradually. So thank you, Hare Krishna. Any questions?
Thank you, Maharaj. You know, you made a lot of comments about this age of Kali Yuga in your talk. First of all, this is supposed to be the golden years of Kali Yuga.
Yeah, Hiranyakashipu introduced the golden eras. Golden soft bed.
And so, how do we as devotees, you know, there's a lot of things you identified, but, you know, how do we as devotees, you know, how do we deal with all those particular negativities and not be contaminated by, because let's face it, you're living in the middle of Los Angeles and, you know, there's so much going on. I mean, there's pollution, there's this, there's that, there's crime, you know, there's killing, you know, there's drug abuse, and, you know, so many activities going on that are so hellish. So how is a devotee in their own mind supposed to rectify these kind of things that are going all around us and you know, make any progress in our spiritual life?
Well, first of all, we're not living in Los Angeles, we're living in Vaikuntha. We should make sure Los Angeles doesn't come in here. Yeah. That's one of our duties.
Well, we do have to step off the block a lot of times, though.
But we should carry Vaikuntha with us. That's why we have these morning programs. So when we step off the block, we're carrying Vaikuntha with us and bringing it to other people. That's one of the 5 potent activities of pure devotional service out of 64. To make the atmosphere make the atmosphere spiritual. So whether we do it in our home, we do it outside when we go out and preach, that's one of the 64 potent activities. That's why the devotees go out, they come back, they don't come back in Maya, they come back enlivened in Krishna consciousness. They become more advanced every time they go out and bring Krishna consciousness with them. And people get affected by it. They get under the bubble of the Vaikuntha atmosphere, And they buy books and they get affected by it. So we're bringing Vaikuntha. This is the only way it's going to change.
Yeah.
Thank you, Maharaj. Wouldn't it be more effective to actually teach people practically as devotees how to have that standard of living in which they can be relieved from all their anxieties? Because many of these people, they don't even want to read books. They don't want to read a book. They're not interested in books. And the average people, they're most concerned with economic development. So in order to tackle all these different things that you were mentioning, they don't understand this, they don't understand that. But if devotees practically show them how to live.
Well, we're showing them how to live. This is how to live.
But not everybody's going to join the temple.
No, we ask them to have a little program at their temple too. At their home. We don't ask them to come to the temple. They can have a program. Krishna can be in their home too. They can have a morning program. This age of Kali Yuga is specifically full of mercy. There's some rare souls right now who have come to the temple or are having made their homes into temples. That's very nice. Other than that, they're being tortured and beaten by material nature. It's not that there's something that is at a place or Krishna is not merciful. They're being beaten by Maya because that's also Krishna's mercy. Maya is another word for Maya is mercy. That's why it's the golden age. Because people can't get away with very much in this age. They suffer intensely. And we're offering, why are we here? We didn't start chanting Hare Krishna and we were immediately in Vaikuntha, talking to Lord Narayan and Lakshmi Devi, and then they introduced us to Radha and Krishna. No, because we were being beaten by the material nature too. And we found that by chanting Hare Krishna, we gave up to some degree or another, our desires for illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, intoxication. So we stopped killing the cow, the animals, we stopped killing our children, and we got a little relief from Kali Yuga. So that's what we're offering people. So if they don't accept it, they'll be beaten. That's all. Krishna it says in the first canto, the Krishna saw, well, it's in the 10th canto too, but in the first canto, the Krishna, he saw his children, they needed some discipline, so he handed them over to discipline agent, so he could teach, rectify them. It's not out of Krishna, nothing Krishna is doing is evil or mean. It's all mercy. It's just that people are very stubborn, that's all. But they're being flooded with the ocean of love of God. And as it says in Chaitanya Charitamrita, this is just the first wave. Eventually it'll get bigger and bigger and they'll all drown. Most of them will drown in it, except for a few students and professors. That they'll have to get special mercy. So it's all, we just started, we're not even in Kali Yuga yet. But it's been accelerated, as far as I can see, by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. So the 10,000 years of golden age can actually take place. He's taking away people's assets. If you go to a country like, when I first went to Poland, there were hardly any cars on the road. There were no, there were horse and buggies still. This is like 20 years ago, 30 years ago. There is no advertisement because there's nothing to advertise. There are no billboards. And when we have programs there, Indradu Maharaj, we just put up a little post. I had my own group that we were doing programs. Indradu Maharaj had a bigger group. He put up a poster. And 300 people would come to the program. In a day or two, we put up a poster, maybe 50, 100, people would come. So people were just anxious to do something. They were anxious to get some, something, an alternative to their life that they're leaving. But now they've just flooded everything with technology and promises and hopes. But it's all falling apart. It'll all become simplified, more simplified. That's what they say. You'll own nothing, you'll be happy. That's true. You'll realize Krishna is God and you'll be happy. That everything belongs to Him. So that's our program too. To realize that people ultimately, Krishna owns everything, and you chant Hare Krishna, you'll be happy. So even with the biggest demons in the world, we have some agreement. So that's happening. The whole economic system is destined to fall apart. Technology won't solve the food problem. It's making it worse. The more they try, the more the material nature, well, just practically speaking, they're destroying the food supply. So people are not going to be very happy about it. They'll look for some alternative. Anything else? Yes. Yes. One more question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, I have a question. So, hypothetically, if I smoke cigarettes several times, I'll get attached quickly. But if I engaged in Krishna consciousness activities several times, I will not get attached so quickly. So why is it so hard to get attached to Krishna? And so easy to get attached to anything material?
Did you ever eat prasadam?
Yes, of course.
Do you like it?
Yes.
Are you attached to it? Are you attached to eating prasadam? To some degree?
To some degree I am.
Yeah, so that's our program. That's how we get people attached. Thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande.